Hey there, extraordinary treasures. I've told you that I'm not a naturally organized person, and also that I'm too lazy to do things the hard way. So when I do get my act together, I want to be as efficient as possible. Converting to a new file system sounds like a lot of work, but if it can save me time, money, and space, I will do it. Time because it's faster to file and faster to find what was filed, a faster turnaround time at the end of the year, and less time sorting documents in future years. It saves money because you don't need to buy expensive organizational supplies every year, and you can also use less paper and printer ink, which is expensive. But why is saving space a big deal? Well, because many of these papers need to be saved for 6 years. So let's not bulk up our files with anything that's not necessary. Many treasurers need to keep more in their expense folder. They're not adequately documenting each payment, but they could keep less in their deposit folder, which is the focus of this video. Each treasurer has a certain way they file the offering deposit paperwork, sometimes because the previous treasurer did it that way. In the counting process, some of you create extra spreadsheets and homemade lists. Many print out trial deposits and contribution reports to file with each offering. I understand if double checking and verifying gives you peace of mind, and you don't have to change the system if it's working for you, but I can tell you it's not necessary to save all those extra papers in the file. If your church is small to medium size, the only thing you really need to put in your deposit folder each month are your 2 Adventist giving deposit reports. And if you have a non-offering deposit, such as your conference evangelism for the year, or a bank deposit slip from something like rental income. The rest of the necessary papers can be wrapped around the tithe envelopes and filed in a shoebox or a plastic shoe bin, which we'll cover in the video on managing tithe envelopes. In fact, smaller churches that don't use Adventist giving could have just 1 deposit folder per quarter rather than 1 for each month. If your church is large with multiple count sheets and large stacks of tithe envelopes, it would be good to staple all the necessaries for each week together and file them in the deposit folder in date order. So what are the necessary papers? Some type of loose offering count sheet signed by 2 people, some type of tithe envelope verification sheet signed by 2 people, and the deposit slip from the bank. If you need a refresher course on what these forms are and how they're used, you can watch the video on counting offerings in the internal control section of these videos. Once your count sheet and your verification sheet match the bank deposit total, there's no need to have any other papers on record in your file. If there are handwritten notes regarding an adjustment or an error, you can transfer them to the count sheet or the tithe envelope that's being adjusted. You don't need to fill your file with extra notes and charts and reports and papers. Extra papers like Jewel trial deposits. The trial deposit is only there to help you if your totals don't match and you need to find the error in your envelope entry. So if Jewel tells you that your envelope totals match your offering total, there's never a need to print it or file it. There's also no need to file Jewel contribution reports detail with your deposit records. Remember, the only reason to print the Jewel contribution report detail is so you can double check your work, comparing the envelopes to the report to catch any errors. But there's no reason to keep a printed copy on file after that. You can burn or shred it. Don't store it. And while we're on the subject, there's usually no reason to print the contribution report detail every month with your monthly reports. It can't go to the board, and there's no reason to store it in your files. Contact me and I can help you save paper and ink by replacing it with the contribution report summary, which is only 1 page. One last deposit folder tip. If you have a non-offering bank deposit slip, attach it to a half sheet of paper and write on it the origin of the money that was deposited before you forget it or file it. These small deposit slips can get lost or crunched when you slide something in on top of them. I had a very large ghost deposit for about 6 months in one church because nobody could remember where it came from or who gave it. We ended up putting it in the wrong account, and we had to reverse it once the donor got their tax receipt and asked where their donation went. The next video will cover the rest of the file folders and also some non-negotiables we ask of you, whatever filing system you choose.